Here are some books I collected over the past few months. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now for today's video, I'm doing a selected book haul. I have a lot of books that I bought in the past few months that I haven't shown you, and I've just moved some of the interesting ones out of the piles of shame that I have. If you guys are new to my channel, you guys probably not know that I do have a corner in my room where I keep all the books that I buy that I want to show on my booktube channel. It has since grown in height, and now I call them the Towers of Shame or the Corner of Shame because it is in the corner of my room. So for this video, I actually went into my corner of shame and I actually picked out a lot of interesting novels that I wanted to show you in a select book haul. I still have a lot of books to show you guys, but it's just going to come with time because I can't keep up with my buying activities and filming. Okay, so I was feeling particularly spendy one day and I really wanted to buy some indie romances. That's not very typical for me because really I like to read traditionally published romance, but a lot of people were talking about this series from Anna Hong, and I personally like these covers. These are the less obscure covers. So we have Twisted Love here, and this one is like a brother's best friend trope romance. This is the one that blew up on TikTok that everybody fell in love with and everybody wanted to read. I read it. I enjoyed a lot of it, but I didn't really like the dramatic parts of it towards the end. So it was an average read for me. It was 3 out of 5 stars, but I still wanted the book because I thought that the book needs to go with the rest of the books if I want to read it. Like, it's a part of a series. I have to get it. This one is Twisted Games. This is book number 2. This one is a royal romance featuring the bodyguard. So it's like forbidden love. It's kind of like not really enemies to lovers. She just feels that her bodyguard hates her, but in reality, he's trying to resist himself because he is in love with her. And then finally, we have the latest novel in the trilogy. This one is called Twisted Hate. And then this one reads as a kind of friends with benefits gone wrong romance. They have a fling, but then obviously feelings get involved. I'm excited to continue on reading like these series. The Twisted series is what's it called. But in all honesty, they are very thick babies and there are no audiobooks available yet. So it's just going to take a lot of time. Okay, so the next trilogy series or the next series that I did get was because of a heavy influence from my friend Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers. I saw her post these special edition covers of the Maid series by Danielle Laurie on her Instagram, and I immediately went to Amazon and I just wanted to collect them. They were pretty expensive, like they were like $20 each, which is like really expensive for me because I buy traditionally published romances that are around like $16 to $15 with a heavy discount. I don't even buy them at full price. If you guys didn't know, Canadian markup prices are a lot higher than US markup prices. So if you guys just want a price comparison, just pick up a book and then look at the Canadian price listing, and that's how much I am paying for books. But anyways, I bought the first book called The Sweetest Oblivion. This one is a mafia romance, and I know nothing about this series except for the fact that my friends really enjoyed this series, and then also it is trending on Book Talk, so I know that it's going to be a fun, thrilling ride. I'm sometimes nervous about trending books on Book Talk because I don't know if they're good or not. But since my friend Lacey really liked them and she was like addicted to reading this series before it even blew up on TikTok, I assume that's going to be really good. And then I don't know if this is the second book in the series, but this one is called The Darkest Temptation. Again, I really like the cover. I really like the color aesthetic and everything. I don't really like mafia romances, so that's like a big red flag for me when I bought this series because I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to enjoy it or not, but because the covers are so pretty and because they're like special editions and they're limited editions on Amazon, I had to get them before I missed out. And then I also got the last book called The Maddest Obsession, and then it's like the blue one. So I really love all the covers. It's money well spent. It makes me happy. Will I read them? I'll try. Then the next book that I picked up is a historical romance novel. This one's called The Lady Tempts an Heir, and it's book 3 in the Gilded Age Heiresses series, from Harper St. George. Now, I never read book 1 or book 2, and mostly because I like historical romance, but I don't like the Gilded Ages. I know it's contradictory since I'm holding this book right now, but some of my friends really liked book number 1. I think book number 2 was kind of an average read, but here's book number 3. I have book 1 and 2 on my shelf, so I wanted to collect it because I especially really like these covers. I know they're a little bit more modern, a little bit more prom dressy, but I don't know. I just like this series cover. So this one follows a man who kind of like left society, but then he has to come back because he needs to marry. And then afterwards, he suggests a fake dating trope with our heroine. This should be a lot of fun. I think this one is set in America, maybe. No, this one's set in London, but our hero is American. I moved you guys back a bit because we were a little too close, but the next book that I have here is this one called The No-Show by Beth O'Leary. Can you guys believe that I've never read one Beth O'Leary book ever before yet? And I have all her books. It's just because like her books are always like so hyped and I don't want to miss a thing. But this one sounds like it's going to be a very messy situation. It involves 3 girls who got stood up on Valentine's Day by the same guy. I feel like that this one leans way more towards women's fiction than romance because I don't think that one of them will fall in love with the guy after the guy played them all so hard. Like those are the things that are kind of just very unforgivable. Okay, so the next book that I purchased myself is this one called Of Princess and Promises by Sadia Manon, and this one is book number 2 in her YA series called A Rosetta Academy series. So I read the first book called Of Curses and Kisses, and I really freaking love that book. I thought that the writing was so easy to sink into. I was really transported into this prestigious elite school where it was kind of like off in the mountains, kind of like Hogwarts, but not really. There's some magical elements towards it. You know, there's a curse in that story where our male character was going to die, but then of course, like, you know, they find a resolution for it, and I really enjoyed that world. So I was really eager to read book number 2, which features like our heroine who is a different girl from the first book, and our heroine in this book is a very popular girl. You know, she's like the queen of the academy, and she got dumped by her ex, so she's healing and mending a heartbreak. And then meanwhile, our hero is a kind of unsociable dork who is in love with her and has been in love with her for a very long time, and he's going to try to convince her that, you know, he is the right person for her. And I think this one's going to be so adorable. My friends didn't really like Of Curses and Kisses, but I really liked it, so I'm sure I'm going to enjoy this YA series. Plus, I love Sadia Manon's writing. I feel like her writing is just spectacular. Okay, and then I was sent this book from St. Martin's Press. This one's called The Girl He Used to Know by Tracy Garvis Graves, and this book is very popular. A lot of my friends actually read this book already, but I kind of have a feeling what this book is about and what it's going to lean towards in the end. I don't know if I'm correct, but I think it deals with like the 9/11 incident somewhere along in this book. And I don't know if that's like a huge spoiler or anything, but basically this book features 2 characters who fall in love, but then it ends and then they meet each other again. So it's kind of like a fated love romance. It's described to be as addictive, hopelessly romantic, and it's the power of fate and unconditional love. So I'm sure this one's going to be super emotional from what I've seen of my friends' reviews. So Lisa Kleypas has a novel out called Perfect Temptations. It's just 2 novels combined into one, and I think it's featuring the 2 books from the, I think it's called the Halfway series or something like that. But the first book is called Seduce Me at Sunrise. The second one is called Tempt Me at Midnight. And I read both of these books already. I thought that they were pretty solid Lisa Kleypas reads, and lots of people love this series. So definitely go pick this up if you guys just want like a cheaper version of the books, because 2 books for the price of 1. Okay, so the next few books that I did purchase were part of like this series from Erin Knightley. It's historical romance. The first book that I purchased is called The Earl I Adore. Basically, our heroine has a crush on our hero, and it's for a very long time. It's kind of unrequited love, and she needs to marry soon. Meanwhile, our hero is kind of like a really nice person, and he's always a conversationalist, and he's very happy. He's golden retriever vibes. But then the problem is that he's actually keeping a very deep, dark secret, and there is just something about him that is kind of off, and then now he needs to push her away before she gets herself into trouble because of him. The second book that I bought is this one called The Duke Can Go to the Devil, and it's from Erin Knightley again. It's part of her A Prelude to Kiss series. This one involves our heroine being sent away to a very small town, and she has to make a life there. There's like this summer festival there that keeps everybody entertained, and then that's where she also meets our hero, who is very rule abiding. He has followed his duties his whole entire life, and then now they kind of have an enemies to lovers romance because they kind of come from two extreme opposites. The next one that I bought is this one called Flirting with Fortune. Basically, our hero needs to marry for money because he's kind of left destitute, and he wants to fool our heroine into making her believe that he is in love with her, but he ends up fooling himself because he realizes that he does really like our heroine. Our heroine feels so betrayed after she realizes that he has tricked her, and then now this is like kind of like the aftermath of like what would happen once you get yourself into a scandal. Okay, so the next book that I have is actually some historical romances that I bought around last quarter, so like 6 months ago, but I just never showed you guys. One of the books that I purchased a very long time ago is called After Dark with the Duke. It's part of Julie Anne Long's series called The Palace of Rogues. I really like the cover because it's clearly reminds me of Christmas. It was released back in the winter months. A lot of people have read this, they enjoyed it. Our heroine is actually an opera singer, and then she has her reputation ruined, so she needs help from our hero, and our hero is very rule abiding. He's described to be as feared, desired, but then he, like, nobody really knows him because he keeps his secrets very close to himself. So now they are fighting their attraction for each other, and I don't know, maybe there's some forced close proximity in this one too as well. The next book that I have here is actually this book that was sent to me from the author herself. This one is called The Devil's Own Duke, and it's part of Lenora Bell's Wallflowers versus Rogue series. If you guys didn't know, I actually collaborated with the author for multiple book releases already, and I just love Lenora's writing. I love her books. I love her. So go check out the videos or follow me on Instagram because we're doing a lot of like collaborations and like giveaways and things like that in anticipation of the release of her latest novel that's coming out in September. So this one already came out last year. I really enjoyed it. It's about our heroine who wants to take care of the family winery because her late mother really cared about the winery, so therefore she cares about it too. And then our hero just kind of like sneaks and worms his way into their annual party, and he claims that he is like the rightful heir of the land and everything. So with that being said, it would mean that he would own the winery, and she can't let that go because that's her life. And he actually doesn't even want the winery. He wants to destroy the winery so that he can build like a race horse track thingy, like, you know, to race horses and for bets and gambling. So they are bickering back and forth and proving to each other that, you know, which one has the best economic benefit out of it. And I really enjoyed this dynamic. I thought it was so cute. I also really liked the fact that both characters had cats, and both cats didn't like each other at first. And it's only until like the owners fell in love that the cats actually became friends. I loved it. So the next book that I have here is this one that was also released around December that I picked up around December too as well. This one's called A Scourge of Her Own by Stacey Reid. I love the freaking cover. It's so freaking gorgeous. It's so pretty. Basically, our heroine lives kind of an unconventional life. During the day, she is the daughter of a very powerful marquis, but then at night she sneaks around and she is actually a very popular songstress. She is protected by our hero, who is never really accepted by society because I think he just comes from a different background and he never grew up with like a title or anything. And then afterwards she stumbles upon her father's secrets, and it kind of like unravels her whole entire life. So I'm excited to read this. I love Stacey's writing. I think that her writing is like really intense a lot of the times. Like I feel like the chemistry between her characters are just so powerful. Okay, so the next historical romance that I do have here is called The Rebel and the Rake by Emily Sullivan. This one's sent to me from Forever Romance. This one is a secret agent romance. It's a historical romance involving our hero who pretends that he is a rake and he's nothing but a rake, but in reality he is the crown's most valuable agent, and he is sent to this estate to go discover secrets, but then he is distracted by our heroine's beauty. And then our heroine has been hurt before in the past, so she doesn't want anything to do with this guy, but he and her get tangled up into like drama and a scandal. So I'm excited to read this one too as well. If you guys have read this book by her, or if you guys have read Emily Sullivan books, let me know because I haven't tried her yet. Okay, so the next book that I have is another older release that was released last year that I picked up last year. This one's called Gentleman Seeks Bride, and this one is part of Megan Frampton's A Hazards of Dukes series. Now, this one involves our hero who needs to marry from wealth again. He's left destitute, and then he needs the help of our heroine to help him find a suitable wife. In exchange, she asks him to teach her the ways of intimacy because she kind of has lived a very unconventional life. Like her fiance ended their engagement, and then so she left her parents' home and moved in with her half brother. So that already left kind of like a stain on her reputation. So she doesn't really care about what society thinks anymore. But the longer that they work together, the longer that they stay together, the more intense their feelings for each other grows. Okay, so the next book that I do have here is a Lindsay Sands novel called Highland Wolf. This one involves our heroine being forced into a marriage that she doesn't want to be any part of, and then halfway down to the altar, or like halfway to the destination of where the wedding is supposed to take place, she's actually kidnapped by our hero, and our hero is actually her betrothed. But what happened was that like somebody stole his identity, and then now he needs to work his way back into the clan to reclaim his birthright. So I think that this one's going to be really intense. I saw a lot of reviews for this series from Lindsay Sands, like her Highlander series, and a lot of people love them. Like each book had around 3,000 ratings, and that's pretty high for traditionally published historical romances. So I'm excited to read this one. So the last book that I think I'm going to show you in this haul is this one from Joanna Shoup. This one's called The Lady Gets Lucky, and it's part of the Fifth Avenue Rebels series. A lot of my friends actually read this book already. They freaking loved it. They freaking adored it. There are some Joanna Shoup books I have read. They were okay reads for me, so that's why I've been putting off this book for a very long time, because I was scared that it wasn't going to meet my expectations. But this one involves our heroine who is super rich. She doesn't want to marry someone who's only after her fortune, so she decides to kind of change her reputation and change herself. So she wants to turn herself into a siren and a woman who causes a man's blood to run hot. And so she turns to her hero, who by no means wants to get anywhere near her, but he also can't resist himself. So then they spend a lot of time together teaching her how to seduce men. So I'm sure this one's going to be a very sensual read, and I can't wait to read it. But anyways, that is it for all the books that I wanted to show you in this selected book haul. Hopefully you guys have some books to add to your TBR and to probably add to your library wait list or hold list or your checkout. And I'll see you guys again next time in a new video. Bye.